Hello again. I wanted to share with you my findings of the research project that we just completed this past week. My subject was whether or not there was a significant impact on negative behaviors in a self contained classroom by playing non vocal classical music as background music or by playing white noise, in this case, nature sounds such as running water or blizzard sounds, to see if that had a significant impact on negative behaviors in the classroom. The reason I chose this particular subject was I remember several years ago reading an article where it suggested playing background music in order to set a calm tone within the classroom in order to help prevent major behavioral problems. Um, last year was my first year as a classroom teacher, and I did follow through with that promise to myself. And I played a combination of non-vocal classical music as well as nature sounds on varying days, and I noticed a pretty extreme drop in negative classroom behaviors. Um, I wanted to take this opportunity to do research to determine if there was, in fact, a significant impact on negative behaviors, or if I just felt that way, and if there was a significant difference between playing the classical music versus playing white noise. In my research, I found most of the writing was about how music or how white noise impacted academic success in the classroom. Um, any articles that I found that looked into behavioral success treated it almost as an ancillary benefit, as that was not what their intended research target was. I came across a topic called the Mozart effect. I did a little extra research and found that the Mozart effect was a theory that became popular in the 1990s, where a group of researchers were able to see a dramatic increase in mathematical scores in students by playing a particular set of Mozart sonatas. The part that I found interesting was that while that particular group of researchers were able to find repeated success with the Mozart effect, researchers outside of that group had been unable to reproduce the same effect. So I found that very interesting. Most of the research that I read was actually split as to the um, validity as to whether or not music or white noise would actually improve academic performance or behavioral performance, either one. Um, there were several authors who felt that the music may cause a distraction, especially to those students with ADD or ADHD. So the methodology for this is I picked a 5 week window. Week one was for baseline data. During that time, I did not play any music, any background, anything during that particular week. And while my students were able to produce actually very good numbers as far as um, resisting negative behaviors, there was a definite stress level among the students and the adults that I was unable to quantify. During weeks 2 and 3, I played a selection of classical music. Most of it was by Mozart, but there were also other composers in there as well. I tried to find stuff that was relatively slow and soothing and calming, and weeks 3 and 4, or excuse me, weeks 4 and 5, I chose white noise again, such as blizzards, such as streams, and those actually had a component of video that went with it, and I played that in the classroom on the classroom projector. These videos were available on YouTube to avoid advertising. I purchased a membership to YouTube to try to eliminate the advertising. To identify negative behaviors, I used the um, daily point sheets that we already used. There were 4 particular areas that we used to determine the students, and I used all 4 of those. And um, I only used times where the students were actually in the classroom listening to music. Times such as lunch and lunch recess, where the students are graded for behaviors, I did not use because obviously they were not privy to the music or to the white noise during that time. What I did is I had 3 subjects at the beginning of this who agreed to participate. I took their daily averages in the during the times that they were with me to participate listening to the music, and turned those into weekly averages, and took those weekly averages and also produced a classroom average and plotted those to determine whether or not the playing of music or the playing of white noise was successful. What I found was that there was not, unfortunately, a significant difference in um, the reduction of negative behaviors in the classroom. During the first week, my students actually produced very good numbers. During the second week, those significantly dropped off. During the third week, they actually um, improved on the first week's numbers, but during that average, I could not legitimately say, due to the numbers in week 2, that the music had a strong effect. The same held true for the white noise. In this case, though, the weeks were reversed. Week 4, they posted very high scores. In week 5, the numbers kind of dropped off. So I do not feel justified in saying that there were significant impact during either session. Um, and that leads me to uh, possible reasons for that. I could definitely see a longitudinal study for this. 5 weeks was not a significant amount of time to truly determine the impact of music. Um, my we had 2 students join our classroom during the research project who while they did not participate in the process because we had already begun when they joined, they of course, a new student is always going to impact classroom behaviors and how students interact in the classroom. All 3 of my students, it was a very homogeneous set. All 3 were males, all 3 were white, all 3 come from low to low middle class economic backgrounds, and all 3 of my students do not have father figures in the home. And so, if this uh, research were to be redone, I would like to see a much broader audience broader audience of subjects brought in to, of course, include uh, young ladies and students of color to give a much more significant reading as to how this would truly impact. Um, what I learned through this project, coming into this degree program, I had always thought that research was done by doctorates who were usually either working at the district level in a school district, or they were professors in a college. And so I did not think that someone like me could, just a classroom teacher, would be able to significantly impact a research project. I, of course, now that know that that is wrong, that anytime that I come across a problem, and this is how I will approach things in the future, anytime I come across a problem, I will do my best to research that problem and develop a research pattern that I can hopefully address that problem. That was my findings, and that was what my paper was about. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.